All right, hey guys. All right, picking up from where we left off last time. Last time we read, we saw that Hecate came into the play and was upset with the witches for having chosen Macbeth to be a benefactor of their powers, right? She was mad with them and then vowed that they were going to fix that. Her main problem was that none of the witches did not confer with her first before choosing Macbeth, nor was he worthy of their powers because he is behaving as if he has done it all himself and is not giving them any credit. Additionally, we saw that some of the noblemen are now suspecting Macbeth. We learned that their country is under all kinds of tyrannical rule under Macbeth's hand. People are upset with him as king because he simply does not know how to run the country, apparently. And Scotland is in a state of turmoil. We see that Macduff now is the next one on his list. Part of the witch's plans was to confuse Macbeth and lead him to his own demise. So we met 3 additional ghosts. I hope you took notes last time because I told you I'm going to ask you about those ghosts and what forms they came in, what it was that they told Macbeth this time. But basically, they made Macbeth feel invincible by suggesting to him that he has to worry about no man because no one can really hurt him until certain conditions apply. The witches also confirmed for Macbeth that Banquo's kids or descendants will actually be king. So Macbeth is now upset about that, even though he was told not to worry about Macduff. He has mentioned to us that he is going to go ahead and kill him and his children and his wife and everyone else who's in his castle. Macbeth now is, has made a total change from the very beginning, or at least this side of his character has been brought out. So he even resolves within himself that the first thoughts that come to his mind, he's going to act upon without hesitation. So where we're picking up today is on scene 2 of Act 4, and this is Macduff's castle at Fife. Here we meet our second female in the play, Lady Macduff. So this is his wife, and let's look at her character here.
No more silence. Where are these gentlemen? Come, bring me where they are.
They exit. Scene 2, Macduff's castle at Fife. Enter Lady Macduff, her son, and Ross.
What had he done to make him fly the land?
You must have patience, madam.
He had none. His flight was madness. When our actions do not, our fears do make us traitors.
You know not whether it was his wisdom or his fear.
Wisdom. To leave his wife, to leave his babes, his mansion and his titles in a place from whence himself does fly. He loves us not. He wants the natural touch. For the poor wren, the most diminutive of birds, will fight her young ones in her nest against the owl. All is the fear, and nothing is the love. As little is the wisdom where the flight so runs against all reason.
Okay, so I hope you're following what's going on, right, Lady Macbeth? So I really wonder what image they had of women or what Shakespeare was presenting in this play, because women are simply not shown in a favorable light. Lady Macduff is not supportive of her husband right here. She's a little worried, and I can understand why to some degree, but it seems like her conclusions about him are a little hasty, right? So Lady Macbeth is with a son of hers and with Ross. Ross is always popping up, right? So Lady Macduff asked what had he done to make him fly the land, because we heard in the last scene that Macduff had left to go to England, right? To try to get some help to fix Scotland under Macbeth's rule. So he has left, and Ross is saying, but you must have patience, right? Because she's asking, what has he done? Why did he run? Why is he leaving? And Lady Macbeth says he had none. He had no patience. His flight was madness. He left like he was a crazy person. When our actions do not, our fears do make us traitors. We haven't done anything to run. So what is he scared of, right? And Lady Macduff is clearly aware, perhaps, that Macbeth might be after her husband, that it looks like he's running, and this may actually cause them to look guilty. And Ross's response, you know not whether it was his wisdom or his fear. The wife is assuming he left because he's scared, and Ross is saying, you don't know why he left. You don't know if he was, if that was a wise decision or not. And listen to her response. Wisdom, he can't be too smart to leave his wife, to leave his babes, his mansion, and his titles in a place from whence himself does fly. He left us in unprotected under this crazy man. What kind of wisdom is that? He loves us not. He doesn't love us. He wants the natural touch, right? He doesn't have the instinct to protect his family. And she compares him to a bird. There's that bird imagery popping back up. Even the smallest bird will try to protect her babies in her nest from the owl. And here it's little wisdom if he is going to run. So we see, these women in here, she's similar to Lady Macbeth in the sense of her tongue, right? Very quickly, she came back at Ross. He can't be too smart. Why would he leave us here if he was that wise? Okay. So these women, boy, I'm telling you, they're not supportive of these husbands, at least not initially. Listen carefully.
My dearest coz, I pray you school yourself. But for your husband, he is noble, wise, judicious, and best knows the fits of the season. I dare not speak much further. But cruel are the times when we are traitors and do not know ourselves. When we hold rumor from what we fear, yet know not what we fear, but float upon a wild and violent sea, each way and move. I take leave of you. Shall not be long, but I'll be here again. Things at the worst will cease, or else climb upward to what they were before. My pretty cousin, blessing upon you.
Okay, so this term cousin they use quite frequently, and I'm not sure, in some instances I know they're using it as family members, and others it's just like a kinsman, right? So he's telling her after she said this, my dearest cousin, I pray you school yourself. You need to put yourself under control, right? Because your husband is noble, he's wise, he's judicious, which means he's fair. And, we trust him. He knows the fits of the season. He knows what's going on under what we're dealing with here. I dare not speak much further. This shows Ross is a little scared. These people are walking on eggshells under Macbeth's rule. But cruel are the times when we are traitors and do not know ourselves. Like, we don't even really know what's going on because we're just listening to rumors. So they know that Macbeth is not a good king. But all these rumors that they're hearing, what are they hearing? Probably that, Macbeth had the king killed, Macbeth has had Banquo killed, other people are falling under his hand. But they can't determine this specifically. And Ross is like, it's a violent sea. I'm not sure which way things are going to go, but I'm going to leave you, right? Because, and I'll be back. And things are not going to last this long, right? Things at the worst will cease or else climb upward to what they were before. We're going to go back to normal, but you just have to be patient with your husband. I'm sure Macduff knows what he's doing, okay?
Fathered he is, and yet he's fatherless.
I am so much a fool. Should I stay longer, it would be my disgrace and your discomfort. I take my leave at once. Ross exits.
Sarah, your father's dead. And what will you do now? How will you live?
That went quickly, okay? So Lady Macduff is referring to her child. Father he is, and yet he's fatherless, right? He doesn't have a father anymore. And Ross is, he's sad for their family. He pities the Macduff family, right? I'm so much a fool. Should I stay longer? It would be my disgrace and your discomfort. I really don't want to leave you here by yourself because I'm kind of embarrassed by your situation, and it'll be uncomfortable for you. So I need to go. I can't stay here longer. So Ross leaves, and Lady Macduff addresses her child. Sarai, your father's dead. She done killed this man already. He left, and she's telling the king your daddy dead. Now what will you do? How will you live? How are you going to survive, right? Because we know that the father was the breadwinner. He's the one who has control of everything. Why would you ever say this to your child? What's going on, and why do you just kill the man just like that? He's not dead. At least you don't know that. You just know that he left. All right, so I'm assuming this is a picture of a child's toy. It looks like a horse carved out of wood. All right, and let's listen to the exchange.
As birds do, mother.
What, with worms and flies?
With what I get, I mean, and so do they.
Poor bird, thou'dst never fear the net nor line, the pitfall nor the gin.
Why should I, mother? Poor birds, they are not set for. My father is not dead, for all you're saying.
Yes, he is dead. How wilt thou do for a father?
All right, now I've always read this differently than these actors are reading this on the screen, because her tone sounded very serious. Your daddy's dead. What are you going to do? Right? So she's basically saying to the son, you got to fend for yourself at this point. And the son seems like he's not having it. He's not with it. As birds do, mother. And she, oh, that's hogwash. What, with worms and flies? What are you going to eat? You can't actually eat like a bird. But the son is suggesting that, birds survive on a day-to-day basis. They get whatever comes to them, right? And so the son explains that with what I get, I mean, and so do they. And the mother says, poor bird, thou'st never fear the net, nor line, the pitfall, nor the gin. You cannot protect yourself from the same offenses that birds do. And the son's like, I'm not going to worry about any of this. Why should I, mother? Poor birds, they are not set for. And my father is not dead, for all of you saying. You talking about my daddy dead. I know he's not dead. The boy is like, whatever, you can say what you want to say, lady. My daddy is still alive and well, and he will take care of me, right? That's the suggestion. But Lady Macbeth says, yes, he is. I'm sorry, Lady Macduff says, yes, he is dead. How wilt thou do for a father? What are you going to do for a father? So she seems to be serious. The actors in this tone don't seem to pick up on it. I don't think they got this part right. I mean, I'm only an English teacher, but I don't know. I don't think they got this part right. This sounds like a back and forth between mother and son, for which, my child might have got slapped in the mouth, depending on how old. I'm sorry for saying that, but I'm just saying this is back talk, if you all haven't caught that. Whatever the mother says, the son has words back for her. Listen carefully.
Nay, how will you do for a husband?
Why, I can buy me 20 at any market.
And you'll buy him to sell again.
Thou speakst with all thy wit, and yet in faith with wit enough for thee.
Okay, so did you all catch that? Let's follow this, right? My father is not dead, for all you're saying. You don't know what you're talking about. That's what he's saying. Lady Macduff says, yes, he is dead. What are you going to do for a father? And he said, no. What are you going to do for a husband? Right? That back to back really quick. He came back at her. And then she says, why, I can buy me 20 at any market. That suggests I could get any man. I'm not worried about being taken care of. You are going to be the problem. So is she going to abandon this boy? What is happening here, right? You all have to let me know which one kind of makes sense to you. This textbook says Lady Macduff and her son affectionately joke about her ability to find a new husband, and she expresses admiration for his intelligence. But that doesn't sound like admiration to me. I think they got this wrong. They might want to be politically correct, but this doesn't sound like a joke. And let me know, it could be culture, it could be time, but you all can let me know if this kind of back and forth would occur with your mother or your parent. And then the son came back and she says, I can buy me 20 at any market. And then the son says, then you'll buy them to sell again. Like basically you're going to betray them too. You can't be loyal to one husband. So what good is it that you can get you 20 others? All right. And then the mother then says, you speak with all thy wit and yet in faith with wit enough for thee. And which the side told you, like you got a slick mouth, but you really not that smart. That's kind of what this says to me. When you speak with all your wit, but honestly, you don't even have enough wit. That's what that translation sounds like to me. You all have to let me know what's going on there or what you think your interpretation is. But this exchange, I don't think this was a joke. I don't think that this is funny. I think that the two of them were going back and forth, and Lady Macduff might have been quite serious about, how are you going to take care of yourself? And it's no longer the problem because, listen up.
Was my father a traitor, Mother?
Aye, that he was.
What is a traitor?
Why, one that swears and lies.
And be all traitors that do so?
Every one that does so is a traitor and must be hanged.
And must they all be hanged that swear and lie?
All right, so now the conversation is turned a little bit, and the little boy maybe is now suggesting that, okay, is my daddy a traitor? Is that why he ran? And then she automatically says, yes, that he was. Now, Ross just got through telling her, you don't know why your husband ran. And why is this the assumption to automatically go to the fact that your man is bad, that he wouldn't take care of you? What is the suggestion here? Why would she be this way?
Every one.
Who must hang them?
Why, the honest men.
Then the liars and swearers are fools, for there are liars and swearers enough to beat the honest men and hang up them.
Okay, so they're talking about the times as well. The mother is saying, yes, your dad was a traitor, and many others are traitors, and what happens to them is that they'll get hung if they get caught or whatever. And the son is saying, then who's going to hang them? And the mother responds, the honest men. And then the son's like, well, they fools, because it's more liars, swearers, and fools than there are honest men. So if they had any sense, they would rise up, because so many bad people are among them, right? It's more traitors than it is honest people. Listen carefully.
God help thee, poor monkey. But how wilt thou do for a father?
She went back to that, right? So again, they're laughing here, and I'm not sure whether this is funny. I just think the tone is all wrong in this conversation, you know, the way it plays out on the video. But you know, now God help the poor monkey. So they laughed like it was a joke, but maybe she pitied him for thinking he's naive. He really doesn't know enough about the world to understand what's going on. And then she goes back to that question. But how would I do for a father? What you gonna do for a daddy? That's why I think she's serious about this question. I don't think she's playing with this boy when she's asking him that.
If you were dead, you'd weep for him. If you would not, it were a good sign that I should quickly have a new father.
Poor Fretler, how that talks.
Same thing here. How old is this boy? Now, the actor sounds fairly young. And again, this kind of conversation wouldn't be acceptable. But the son says, if he were dead, you'd be crying for him. But if you do not cry for him, it were a good sign that I should quickly have a new father. You must be got somebody on the side. You know, are you at you know, at a privilege to be able to say this to your parent? And she says, poor Prattler, how thou talkest. So I really don't know if they are joking here. I just have never been able to pick up on that. I've always thought this was a serious conversation until this recording. But all right, listen very carefully.
A messenger.
Bless you, fair dame. I am not to you known, though in your state of honor I am perfect. I doubt some danger does approach you nearly. If you will take a homely man's advice, be not found here. Hence with your little ones. To frighten you thus, methinks I am too savage. To do worse to you were fell cruelty, which is too nigh your person. Heaven preserve you. I dare abide no longer.
All right, so this messenger comes in, and he you know, he speaks to her. Bless you, fair dame. I am not to you known. You don't know me. Though in your state of honor, I am perfect. I am not here to hurt you. I am an honorable man, right? But I doubt some danger does approach you nearly. Some trouble is coming to your house. If you will just trust in a homely man's advice, be not found here. You need to leave. Hence with your little one. So whoever this messenger is, he has some insight that Macbeth is on the way, right? Or has some people on the way. He says, hence with your little ones, leave. And he was like, I think that to scare you this way, I'm a very savage person. However, if I don't tell you, I think that would be even more cruel. So heaven help you, right? I dare abide no longer. I got to get up out of here because I know something is coming.
Messenger exits.
Whither should I fly? I have done no harm. But I remember now I am in this earthly world, where to do harm is often laudable, to do good sometime accounted dangerous folly. Why then, alas, do I put up that womanly defense to say I have done no harm?
All right. Whither should I fly? Why should I run? I've done nothing wrong. But now I remember that I am in this earthly world where to do harm is often laudable. That means it's often celebrated. And to do good sometimes is often considered dangerous folly. Why then at last do I put up that womanly defense? Why am I being so soft? So in this regard, this mirrors Lady Macbeth, right? That women are cowards in some sense. Like I'm acting soft by suggesting this. She was like, why do I put up that womanly defense to say I have done no harm? This defense is futile because I know the ways of this world. And this means that I shouldn't be trying to, what do you call that? I'm losing the word, but I should not be trying to justify why I won't run because I haven't done anything wrong. I understand that this world is so bad that it doesn't matter that I'm innocent, harm could still come to me. And now we have more murderers entering the scene. Listen carefully.
Enter murderers.
What are these faces?
Where is your husband?
I hope in no place so unsanctified where such as thou mayst find him.
He's a traitor.
Thou liest, thou shag-eared villain!
What, you egg? Stabbing him, young fry of treachery.
He has killed me, mother. Run away!
Lady Macduff exits, crying, followed by the murderers bearing the son's body.
All right, so again, that happened really quickly. Murderers came in. What are these faces? Who are you? Where is your husband? I hope in no place so unholy where such as thou mayest find him. I hope he's nowhere where you can find him. And the murderer said he's a traitor. And then the son has a problem. You shag-eared villain, you are a liar. So the son comes to his father's defense. And then the murderer, what, you egg? Why does he call him an egg? We have dealt with the connotations of egg before, right? You all remember that? We were talking about Humpty Dumpty. But in this case, he means like offspring, right? That's what he means because he's young. And then he stabs the kid. So another dead child. You young fry of treachery. You're a young offspring of a traitor. And then the son dies. He has killed me, mother. Run away, I pray you. All right. So the mother runs, but sadly, she does not get away. All right, so we're going to pick up on scene 3. And I don't know if we'll get through the whole scene, but we'll start it.
Scene 3, England, before King Edward's palace. Enter Malcolm and Macduff.
Let us seek out some desolate shade, and there weep our sad bosoms empty.
Let us rather hold fast the mortal sword, and like good men bestride our downfall and birth them. Each new morn, new widows howl, new orphans cry, new sorrows strike heaven on the face that it resounds as if it felt with Scotland, and yelled out like syllable of dolor.
What?
Okay, so we are in England now, which is where we know Malcolm went to reside when he and Donald Bain ran, and Macduff went to England to get help. So now the two of them together. So they're trying to set up a conversation. Malcolm says, or a place to talk. Malcolm says, let us seek out some shade, and there weep our sad bosoms empty, because they want to mourn for their country. But Macduff says, let us rather hold fast the mortal sword, and like good men, bestride our downfall and birth them. We need to go protect our kingdom. We need to go back home and protect it. We don't got time to sit here and cry and just let this man take over. Each new morning, new widows howl. That means husbands are dying. New orphans cry because their fathers are dead. New sorrows strike heaven on the face. There's Shakespeare's poetry come up. People are crying and their prayers and sadness is hitting heaven. It resounds as if it felt with Scotland and yelled out like syllable of dolor, right? They can hear the echoes in the sky because of the people in Scotland are under this hand accursed.
But I believe I'll wail. What know, believe, and what I can redress, as I shall find the time to friend, I will. What you have spoke, it may be so, perchance. This tyrant, whose sole name blisters our tongues, was once thought honest. You have loved him well. He hath not touched you yet. I am young, but something you may deserve of him through me and wisdom to offer up a weak, poor, innocent lamb to appease an angry God.
All right. So Malcolm responds, what I believe I will, right? I am going to cry. What I know I believe and what I can redress as I shall find the time to friend, I will. When I have the chance to go back and trust somebody to go back and fight for my kingdom, I will. What you have spoke, it may be so. That's true that what's going on in Scotland. I get it. This tyrant, of course, that's Macbeth, whose sole name blisters our tongues. Right now, it's a blister on your tongue to say his name, was once thought honest. We once thought he was an honest man, and you have loved him well. He had not touched you yet. So you done been close to him, but you still alive. So Malcolm is suspicious of Macduff. I'm not sure why you here, because why you still alive? How did you get away from Scotland to come to me? So Malcolm got some sense now. I want you to see, unlike his father, you know, he is perceptive in that sense. I am young, but something you may deserve of him through me. You probably came to do some of his dirty work through me, and wisdom to offer up a weak, poor, innocent lamb to appease an angry God. You probably came to use me as some kind of sacrifice. I'm not with that. You're trying to get me to go back and fight for Scotland, but I don't trust you. I don't trust you, Macduff, and rightfully so, right? We have to understand because of the times and what Malcolm has experienced, he gets it that this may be the case. Listen carefully.
I am not treacherous.
But Macbeth is. A good and virtuous nature may recoil in an imperial charge. But I shall crave your pardon. That which you are, my thoughts cannot transpose. Angels are bright still, though the brightest fell. Though all things foul would wear the brows of grace, yet grace must still look so.
All right, so Macduff catches it. You trying to say I'm a traitor. Macduff said, I'm not treacherous, I'm not a traitor. And Malcolm says, but Macbeth is. And you might be good and virtuous, but you may recoil. People can be good and they can change, as it seems Macbeth have. But I shall crave your pardon. I apologize, because I don't know that what you are, my thoughts cannot transpose. I can't really tell. Angels are bright still, though the brightest fell. This is definitely an implied allusion. Who was the brightest angel? All right, this is Lucifer. This is the devil. He was once thought to be the best angel, and then he fell, right? And he still has some power. So angels are bright still, though the brightest fell. So you might look like grace, but I don't know. I don't know if I can trust you, Macduff. And I think Malcolm is on the right track as far as that's concerned.
I have lost my hopes.
Perchance even there where I did find my doubts. Why in that rawness left you wife and child? Those precious motives, those strong knots of love without leave taking. I pray you, let not my jealousies be your dishonors, but mine own safeties. You may be rightly just, whatever I shall think.
All right, so here it is again. Malcolm is thinking forward. So Macduff says, I have lost my hope. If you're not gonna help me, then I'm hopeless, because you're the rightful heir to the throne. I need you to come fight with me. And Malcolm goes on to say, all right, I still find my doubts. And then he asked him, why in that rawness, why in that state of Scotland did you leave your wife and child? They're supposed to be precious to you, and you just left them, right? So he was like, again, I hope this doesn't dishonor you, but I'm trying to protect myself, and this doesn't sound right, Macduff. Why would you leave your family? Again, so you might be here because you had some kind of promise that your family was going to be protected, right? So he doesn't trust them.
Bleed, bleed, poor country. Great tyranny, lay thou thy basis sure, for goodness dare not check thee. Wear thou thy wrongs, thy title is afeard. Fare thee well, Lord. I would not be the villain that thou thinkst for the whole space that's in the tyrant's grasp, and the rich east to boot thee.
Okay, so again, Macduff is still trying to defend himself, but he's giving up the fight. Fare thee well, Lord. I'm just going to leave, right? But I would not be the villain that you think I am. I would not be the villain that thou thinkest for the whole space that's in the tyrant's grasp. I wouldn't be that kind of traitor or villain if I was promised the whole Scotland and the whole East, right? I'm not that type of man. But Malcolm doesn't know that. So he goes on. Listen carefully.
Not offended. I speak not as in absolute fear of you. I think our country sinks beneath the yoke. It weeps, it bleeds, and each new day a gash is added to her wounds. I think withal there would be hands uplifted in my right, and here from gracious England have I offer of goodly thousands. But for all this, when I shall tread upon the tyrant's head or wear it on my sword, yet my poor country shall have more vices than it had before, more suffer, and more sundry ways than ever by him that shall succeed.
Okay, so Malcolm says, be not offended. Don't be offended by what I'm saying. I speak not as in absolute fear of you. I don't know whether to trust you or not. So I don't need you to be offended by that. And I know our country seeks beneath the yoke. Our country is weeping, it's bleeding. Every day there's a new gash added to her wounds. And that's all fine. And right now, here from gracious England, the King of England, have I offer of goodly thousands. I have thousands, like England is willing to help me go to war against my country. But for all this, when I shall tread upon the tyrant's head, that means when I come for Macbeth's head or wear it on my sword or I cut his head off, my poor country shall have more vices than it had before. Vices are opposite of virtues. So these are bad qualities, right? A vice is a bad quality. So he is saying, if he takes over, the country is going to have more bad qualities than it had before. More suffer, it's going to suffer more in more ways than it ever has by all that shall succeed. So Macduff is like, what? Listen carefully.
What should he be?
It is myself, I mean, in whom I know all the particulars of vice so grafted that, when they shall be opened, black Macbeth will seem as pure as snow. And the poor state esteem him as a lamb being compared with my confineless harms.
Okay, so Macduff is like, what should he be? What kind of man is going to make the country worse than Macbeth is? And Malcolm says, it is myself, I mean, in whom I know all the particulars of vice so grafted. I know myself so well that when they shall be open, when the vices that are in me are open, black Macbeth will seem as pure as snow. So this is Malcolm saying he's a bad guy. And he says, and the poor state esteem him as a lamb being compared with my confineless harms. So if I come into charge and take over this kingdom, everybody gonna wish they had Macbeth back because he will be like a lamb in comparison to me.
Not in the legions of horrid hell can come a devil more damned in evils to top Macbeth.
Now, I like the actor's tone right here. He got that tone spot on. Macduff says, not in all the horrid hell can a devil come more damned than evils to top Macbeth. You tripping. Ain't nobody more evil than him, which again means Macbeth is terrible, right? If Macduff is like, I don't believe it. It can't be nobody any more evil than that.
Grant him bloody, luxurious, avaricious, false, deceitful, sudden, malicious, smacking of every sin that has a name. But there's no bottom, none in my voluptuousness. Your wives, your daughters, your matrons, and your maids cannot fill up the cistern of my lust, and my desire all continent impediments would o'erbear that did oppose my will. Better Macbeth than such a one to reign.
Okay, so Malcolm says, grant you, I grant it. He is bloody, he kills a lot, he's luxurious, he is luxuriating in all of our wealth. He's avaricious, which is greedy. He's false, he's deceitful, he's lying. He's sudden, which means impulsive. He's malicious, which is evil. He smacks of every sin that has a name. Macbeth does it. But in comparison to Malcolm, but there's no bottom, none in my voluptuousness. The amount of sins that I have is bottomless, right? Your wives, your daughters, your mothers, your maids could not fill up the cistern of my lust. He's talking about rape. It will not be enough women to satisfy my desires. And my desire, all continent impediments would overbear that did oppose my will. I'm gonna take what I want, right? Better Macbeth than such a one to reign. So this is what Malcolm is saying. I'm gonna take all the women and have no qualms about it. Listen to Macduff's response.
Endless intemperance in nature is a tyranny. It hath been the untimely emptying of the happy throne and fall of many kings. But fear not yet to take upon you what is yours. You may convey your pleasures in a spacious plenty and yet seem cold. The time you may so hoodwink
Ooh, I don't know if I like this response, right? So Macduff says, boundless intemperance in nature is a tyranny. It's natural for men to not be satisfied. That's what he's suggesting. It has been the untimely emptying of the happy throne and the fall of many kings. Many kings have fallen because of a woman. Let's not talk about Bill Clinton, right? That leadership just comes with that power, and women are always getting men in trouble. However, Macduff says, fear not yet to take upon what is yours. What is he suggesting? Is he suggesting that the women are his? You're entitled to that? That's what it sounds like to me. You may convey your pleasures in a spacious plenty. You may get all the pleasure you want, and yet seem cold the time you so may hoodwink. Listen carefully.
We have willing dames enough. There cannot be that vulture in you to devour so many as will to greatness dedicate themselves, finding it so inclined.
Listen to what he says about women, right? We have willing dames enough. We got women who will throw themselves at you, who will be willing, and there cannot be a vulture that in you that can devour as many women who will give themselves to you freely, as will to greatness dedicate themselves, finding it so inclined. Power comes with that. So you wouldn't have to take it. It's going to be offered to you unconditionally. And so Macduff is like, what you saying? Not even a problem. So if this is what you think your problem is, I still need you to come take your throne, because that's not enough to stop you from doing it.
This there grows in my most ill-composed affection such a staunchless avarice that were I king, I should cut off the nobles for their lands, desire his jewels and this other's house, and my more having would be as a sauce to make me hunger more, that I should forge quarrels unjust against the good and loyal, destroying them for wealth.
All right, so since that wasn't enough, Malcolm is saying, oh, but you don't understand. I have something that's even worse than my lust, my sexual lust. I have greed. I have such a greed that if I were king, I should cut off the nobles for their lands. I'm going to take everybody's land. I'm going to take his jewelry, all of his houses, everything. And it wouldn't be enough to satisfy me. I'm going to make fights about it. I'm going to destroy everybody's wealth, because I'm going to just take all the money, all the land. It's all going to belong to me. So he's saying his greed is even worse. So listen carefully.
This avarice sticks deeper, grows with more pernicious root than summer-seeming lust, and it hath been the sword of our slain kings. Yet do not fear. Scotland hath poisons to fill up your will of your mere own. All these are portable with other graces weighed.
So once again, this avarice, this greed sticks deeper than the lust. This one is a little stronger. However, do not fear. Scotland has poisons to fill up your will of your mere own, right? Poisons enough. So it's enough land and property and jewelry for you to have. That's good too. Take it all. All these are portable with other graces weighed. Being under Macbeth, we'll even take this. So you can have all the women you want. You can take all the money and the property, whatever, jewelry, you can have all that too. However, all these are portable with other graces weighed. If you give us something else, we can overlook the greed and the lust.
But I have none. The king becoming graces as justice, verity, temperance, stableness, bounty, perseverance, mercy, lowliness, devotion, patience, courage, fortitude. I have no relish of them, but abound in the division of each several crime, acting it many ways. Nay, had I power, I should pour the sweet milk of concord into hell, uproar the universal peace, confound all unity on earth.
Oh,
okay, so here Malcolm says, but I have none. He has none of what? The none refers to the graces. I don't have any graces, right? These king becoming graces that I should have, things like justice, truth. There's our word of the day, right? Justice, truth, stableness, bounty, perseverance, mercy, none of that. I don't have any of it. I'm just terrible. If I were in power, nay, had I power, I should pour the sweet milk of concord into hell, uproar the universal peace, confound all unity of earth. I'm gonna ruin the world. You understand? That's how bad of a king I am going to be. All right, so Macduff is giving up at this point. Listen carefully.
Scotland, Scotland.
If such a one be fit to govern, speak. I am as I have spoken.
Fit to govern. No, not to live. Oh, nation miserable, with an untitled tyrant bloody sceptred, when shalt thou see thy wholesome days again, since that the truest issue of thy throne by his own interdiction stands accursed, and does blaspheme his breed?
All right. So Macduff is like, oh, Scotland, my country, what are you to do? Malcolm says, is such a one be fit to govern? Speak. I am as how I have spoken. Do you really want me on the throne? Because this is what you're going to get. And Macduff's like, nah, fit to govern? No, not to live. You're not even fit to live. And then he addresses the country. Oh, nation miserable, with an untitled, meaning somebody who is not supposed to have the kingship, tyrant, bloody scepter, it's killing everybody. When shall you see your wholesome days again? When will you ever return? Especially since the truest issue of the throne, the one who's supposed to be here, by his own admission, stands accursed and does blaspheme his breed. He ruining his family's name and everything by saying this, he's that type of person. What can my country possibly do? There's no remedy to this.
Thy royal father was a most sainted king. The queen that bore thee oftener upon her knees than on her feet died every day she lived.
All right. So your father was a sainted king. He was holy. Duncan was great. We want him back. And your mother, the queen that bore thee, she was oftener upon her knees than on her feet, meaning she was a religious person, always praying. And I know she didn't raise you to be like this. How would you get like this? All right.
Fare thee well. These evils thou repeatst upon thyself have banished me from Scotland. Oh, my breast, thy hope ends here.
All right. So he says, these things that you told me that you put upon yourself have banished me from my country. I can't even go home anymore. And I've lost all hope because you were my last hope. All right.
Macduff, this noble passion, child of integrity, hath from my soul wiped the black scruples, reconciled my thoughts to thy good truth and honor. Devilish Macbeth, by many of these trains, hath sought to win me into his power, and modest wisdom plucks me from overcredulous haste. But God above deal between thee and me, for even now I put myself to thy direction, and unspeak mine own detraction. Here abjure the taints and blames I laid upon myself, for strangers to my nature. I am yet unknown to woman, never was forsworn, scarcely have coveted what was mine own, at no time broke my faith, would not betray the devil to his fellow, and delight no less in truth than life.
All right. So here it is. Turns out that this was all a trick. Macduff, this noble passion, child of integrity, hath from my soul wiped the black scruples, reconcile my thoughts to thy good truth and honor. I understand now, based on your response, that you really are a good guy. And he goes on to explain why he said this. Devilish Macbeth, by many of these trains, have sought to win me into his power, and modest wisdom plucks me from overcredulous haste. I got a little bit of sense. So Macbeth done tried this before. He done sent people to me to try to win me back so I can come to Scotland, and I guess he can kill me or do whatever. But God above deal between me and thee, for even now I put myself to thy direction and unspeak my own detraction. I'm going to listen to you, and I'm going to take back everything I said, right? Here abjure the taints and blames I laid upon myself, for strangers to my nature. All those things are strangers to my nature. I don't know nothing about that. I am yet unknown to woman. That means I don't know, I have not known a woman in a biblical sense. He's still a virgin. Never was forsworn. I don't lie. Scarcely have coveted what was mine own. I didn't even want all the houses and riches that I had as a prince. Like I don't want other people's money. And then he says, I have never broke my faith. So I've never been unfaithful to God. I'm a good guy. I would not betray the devil to his fellow. I wouldn't even tell on the devil. All right. And I delight no less in truth than life. I'd rather be honest. Honesty is just as important to me as living and breathing. So Malcolm is saying, I really am a good guy. I just was saying all those things to kind of feel you out. Okay. I had to know if you were being true here. Listen carefully.
My first false speaking was this upon myself.
This is the first time I've lied. My first false speaking was this upon myself.
What I am truly is thine and my poor country's to command. Whither indeed before thy here approach, old Seaward with 10,000 warlike men already at a point was setting forth.
Okay, so what I am truly is thine. I am yours and my poor country's to command. Tell me what you want me to do. Whither indeed before thy here approach, before you approached here, old Seaward, who was a soldier with 10,000 warlike men, 10,000 soldiers was already lined up, already at a point was setting forth. We was already coming. We were coming to save my country. I just didn't know if I could trust you, okay? Now I see that you are on my side. All right, I think we're gonna stop here today, although it's mid-scene, because this one gets very long. So we're gonna stop here and we'll pick up next time. All right, guys, I hope you took your notes well, and I will see you all next time.